How do you know that you are saved? That is a question I have been asked hundreds of times. Far too many people depend on their feelings as a measuring rod for salvation. The truth is that your feelings are not, I repeat, are not a good measuring rod for salvation. I heard someone say years ago, if I have to feel saved to be saved, I won't be saved most of the time. There are many times in my life I confess that I don't feel saved. I was at a Promise Keepers event years ago, and 30,000 men were in the stadium, and a guy was leading worship, and he was leading us in the hymn, "It Is Well With My Soul." As 30,000 men sang loudly, I looked down, and the hair was standing up on my arms. I had goosebumps on top of goosebumps. I looked towards heaven and said, I must be saved. But as I thought about that further, I had to confess, was I any more saved then than I was before I went to that conference? I don't think so. And to be honest with you, I'm glad my eternal salvation does not depend on my feelings, because there are many times when I don't feel saved. When I was in college, Campus Crusade for Christ was an active ministry. Today it's called Cru, and they passed out little tracts called the 4 Spiritual Laws. And in the back of that tract, they had a little diagram that put into proper perspective the role of feelings in salvation. It's called the train of salvation. It's got 3 cars. The engine, or the first car, is the car of fact. The second car is the car of faith, and the third car is the car of feelings. Now, the tract reminds us that the caboose, or the final car, is feelings. You don't need the caboose to run the train, but you need the engine, or the first car. The same is true in our Christian lives. We don't depend on the caboose. We don't depend on our feelings to pull us along in the Christian life. It's the fact and the faith that pull us, and the feelings follow the fact and the faith. I love the words of Romans 10:9 and 10 when the Bible says, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, and you believe in your heart God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. For with the mouth man confesses, resulting in salvation, and with the heart man believes and is justified. And everyone who calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. I call it the fact of salvation, the faith of salvation, and the feelings of salvation. The fact of salvation is what Romans 10:9 says, if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, you will be saved. The faith of salvation is when he says, if you believe in your heart God raised him from the dead, you will be justified. You see that word justified? It means just as if I'd never sinned. Oh, there's nothing wrong with feelings, my friends. Emotions are good. I thank God for those holy goosebumps and those mountaintop experiences I have when I feel so very close to God. But I also know that life is a mixture of mountaintops and valleys. And so my word of encouragement to you today is to remind you of the train of salvation, that God is just as close to you in the valleys as he is on the mountaintops. Remember, the fact of salvation is the engine. The faith of salvation is the second car, and the caboose is the feelings. Thank God for feelings, but most of all, thank God for the fact that he promises us that we confess with our mouth that Jesus is Lord, and we believe in our heart God raised him from the dead, we shall be saved. So regardless of how I feel, my friends, I know I'm going to heaven. How about you? And that, my friends, is an encouraging word.